always hear my ass.
Okay,
no.
So speaking symbolically, I'm going to give a recap for Michelle, and then we'll continue. People speak from an element, Michelle, okay? Earth, air, water, fire. We're starting to learn to listen symbolically. Earth is square. We're using the chakra system to educate. The square is symbolic with the cross. It has to do with money, with values, with an exchange of values, money, property, real estate. When someone uses those words a lot, that's when we know that they're speaking from an earth element, okay? From the water, there's the crescent moon, and the moon is symbolic of the water. There's usually maternal issues, unmet needs, romance issues, sexual issues. The third through the sixth chakras all have a version of a triangle. If the triangle is upright, it's usually an air or a fire. If it's earth or water, it's the downward triangle, which is symbolic of those elements, okay? And then if they're unified, which like I said, most people aren't, then you'd see the symbol of the Jewish star. So we're at the fourth chakra right now, okay? I'll get some feedback for you later about what you missed. So in the fourth chakra, you're hearing people that are speaking from the other, everything about the other, and they're very much victim. So third and fourth chakras are very, very related, okay? The third chakra is balanced with the fourth, and I talked to you about the feedback mechanism last time. I have a theory. Lo and behold, I have a theory. Self versus selfish. So you're going to hear the person speak. Now you might hear the person speak selfless. I don't believe in the word selfless, just like I don't believe in unconditional love, okay? If original sin is missing the mark, and we miss the mark over and over again, then I don't see how really unconditional love, maybe Buddha, Jesus, maybe, I'll give them that, have achieved that, but it's not really my belief system. So you hear self. If the person is speaking from a self, now, is it a 0 to 100 self? Is it an exaggerated self? Then it's probably 0 to 100, a third chakra, that's too much fire, and you need to work with them on getting to the 48 to 52. If it's no sense of self, then it's absolutely third chakra diminished, and you have to grow them into themselves. This is self-love, good nutrition. I said before, self-love is an inside job, but of course, things that we put in, like good food, helps to build the Agni, which is the fire god in Ayurveda, okay? So third and fourth, you're gonna see together. So what's my theory? Self is my definition of, I'm just going to draw it with a line, where you stay on your side, you meet your needs, and the other person gets their needs met. Okay, so going back to Heros Gamos from last week, partly related. I don't take from you, and you don't take from me. Selfish is when you take from the other, or they take from you. So I have a client the other day that says to me, you know, I think I'm making strides. He's trying on working with his roommate about gaining more of a sense of self. He has a good Mr. Nice Guy going on. And he says, they asked me to take out the dogs, and I said yes, but I didn't do it. Fail! I didn't say that to him. I didn't say that to him. I'm empathic and I slash snow globes, but I am also empathic. I'm a therapist. So I said no. I said absolutely not. I said that's not self. Self is I'm unable to take care of that for you because that person will now know that they have to walk their own dogs. I stayed on my boundary. I spoke to you, and now you know what you have to do, 50-50. And I don't believe in 50-50. I think that's a lie. I don't think energy works inexactitude. So hence 48 to 52, you have to give some wiggle room, just like you have to give wiggle room to the chakras. And usually you're dealing with people with 1 or 2 chakras, first, second, okay, or third, fourth. So selfless are people that are like nice, and I have a theory around nice versus kind. I've already told you that, but people that have a theory for everything. My boyfriend for Christmas got me a sweatshirt that says, I have a theory, because I have a theory for everything. So, and I also have a theory. I also have a theory that's hashtag no new stories. So I know that I have no original thought, and I know that everything has already been written, especially in the ancient texts, and that's why I study those sources. But I also know that in psychology, every other psychologist before me has said this, but in different terms. All I've done is find my own terms that make sense for my pre-brain, because I'm a pre-brain. So self is when you don't take from the other. So fourth chakra people are giving, and they take nothing in return. They're so selfless. Bullshit. That's an imbalance of 0 to 100, and that is manipulation, okay? So that's definitely a savior, victim, or a rescuer, suffering archetype, okay? Then people that take, okay? So I'm gonna use this analogy again, the alcoholic versus the Al-Anon. The alcoholic takes, so to speak, right? They come home drunk, they vomit, you have to clean up after them. The Al-Anon person, in my opinion, I've always said, is the sicker person. The codependent person is sicker because they're working from a fourth chakra and they have no self. Their third chakra is non-existent. So third and fourth chakra language, symbolic language, works together. And you have to listen for self-worth issues. If you hear a lot of selfless, and they love to say they're selfless. It's so funny. And I call bullshit on that because I don't believe in selfless. So, and then other people will call themselves selfish. So fourth chakra people might say, I'm so selfish, and their passive aggressive, manipulative shows you that they're being selfless. So it's an interesting one of 0 to 100. And the truth is the middle, which is self. Don't give too much, don't give too little. Again, Goldilocks, syndrome, give just right. So those are the words to listen from a third and fourth chakra symbolic. The fourth chakra, you're always going to hear a lot of suffering. And I said before, Buddha says, pain is inevitable. Pain is inevitable because of the original sin, because of the conception story, because you were kicked out of something, whatever your religious beliefs are, and suffering is optional because suffering is you want to be glued to the cross. You want to suffer and you're enjoying the suffering. So fourth chakra people love to suffer. And I have the pain pleasure series of videos if you want some more on that relates to you. The fifth chakra is the throat chakra, okay? What's the element? The element is Akasha. Akasha is spirit or energy or ether, okay? So now we've gone up the chakras. We've got people that speak from earth. We've got people that speak from water. We've got people that speak from fire. We've got people that speak from air, okay? So this is the language. In the fifth chakra, all of these are kind of combined. This is usually going to manifest in people with very, very small voices or loud voices, okay? I obviously have a 3-5 issue going on, right? Okay, and I'm working on it, and some second chakra too stuff. So you identify from the element that the client is speaking what their issue, where they go on 0 to 100. Are they doing it too much? Are they doing it too little? Your job as therapist is to bring it to a middle ground, okay? So this can manifest, like I said, as voice, as throat stuff, as thyroid issues, okay? And then the sixth chakra is the third eye. This again is all of the elements. So I'm going to just quickly give you a 2-second version of that, but really what we're talking about is the first 4 chakras. Are they speaking from earth? Money, land, practical boundaries. They had to grow up too fast or they never grew up at all. Second chakra, the moon, the mother issues. They weren't nurtured. They were overly nurtured. So helicopter parents, as much as parents that abandoned. So water themes. The third chakra is fire. Too much passion, too much creativity, too many fast cars, too much, or not enough fire. They can't get out of bed and put on their pajamas. Self-worth is obviously the issue there. And the fourth chakra, which is the air element, which is the suffering and, oh my God, I'm such a martyr, or everybody else, I give to everybody else. And there's no balance, okay? So I want you to start hearing from the element what the problem. Then I want you to put them on the 0 or 100. Your client is going to manifest their symbolic language, their element, their chakra on a 0 to 100. They did not come to you because they're in balance. They did not come to you because they have it figured out. The answer is in the 48 to 52, and that's the therapeutic process. When they achieve that issue in balance, then they'll leave or they'll start a new issue. So when you hear the element, you take your notepad, you hear the element they're speaking from through their story. I lost all my money. I can't have a healthy sex life, whatever their language is. Then you put it on the triangle and you identify the keywords I told you, and then you figure out how you're going to get them to the balance of 48 to 52. Is that clear? Okay, so that's using the element that they're speaking from to get them to balance, which will now give you a structure and a format to your therapy, to what you're going to do with this client. Okay? So quickly, 5th chakra, throat, like I said, 6th chakra, and simply because we started out talking about Jesus, channeling for the client and the original sin and blah, 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 we are going to just mention the 6th chakra has to do with the vision or the image of God that you connect to. That person, and I don't mean God as Jesus or Buddha or Krishna. Every single person has a God. Your pain and suffering is your God. Do not think it's not. It could be money. It could be your sexual issues. It could be your child's disease. Accept it. Okay? There's this great line from Devil Wears Prada that by now I should know it by heart, where the actor comes out to talk to the, whatever the famous actress is, and she's Annie, I forgot her name, and he's like, whoever you spend the most time on the phone with, or whoever you call the most, whoever's on your caller ID the most, is the most important person in your life. The area that you spend constantly over and over and over and over again, that's your God. You have created that into your God. That was taught to you. So if it is God, like my client this morning, where it's about God and the religion and her fear of dying because she's going to hell because she's gay, that's her God. Okay? And I'll get to the perpetrator in a minute. Religion is also a perpetrator. That's the 6th chakra. You're already going to know in your client's language what their God is. In astrology, it's easy. Go to Saturn. Where you have Saturn, that's the God. That's the pain, the suffering. That's the cycle that keeps coming back. And I'm going to get to that when we get to the 7th chakra in a minute. So in yoga or in the Hindu tradition, we call this an Ishvadevatar. That is God as form. And in the Hindu religion, people worship Shiva or Krishna or Hanuman, a picture of God, right? So are you an Athena follower? Are you a Persephone follower? Whatever your God is, I don't care. You believe in something. It could be an actual God or goddess, a religion, but it could also be your pain and suffering, your sick child, your money problems, your debt, the nose freckle that you have that is you're obsessed with. That's your God. I once saw a Rachel Ray episode where she was talking to people and trying to help them with parts of their body that they had problems with. And this girl had an issue with the size of her nose. It was an absolutely normal, nice nose. In every, it doesn't matter, it's here. In every picture, she would take a cup or a potato chip bag or something and cover the nose. That was her God. I'm not going to get into the symbolism of the nose, blah, 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 but that's a big thing. And why is the sixth chakra your God? Because it's what you think. It's the thoughts that consume you all freaking day. Your anxiety is caused by this. Your fight or flight response is caused by this. It's a constant state of thinking about this. What thought can't you live without is your God. And it does not have to be some guy in the sky. It could be. For some people it is. Yes.
About the psychic headache. Like, it is supposed to be in the sixth chakra.
The psychic headache, yes, from the sixth chakra. So when I do psychic work, I know that it's not me. Okay, I know that like this morning, I channeled Jesus's teachings. But Francis is involved. Francis's mind, my knowledge, my wisdom, my readings, whatever, is involved in that. I have to show up. If I overexert myself, which I oftentimes do because of, you see how passionate and how I talk, I could get that headache. Okay, so it's your body indicating you're too much. So my question in relationship to me, for instance, why do I have to give more? I have a saying, don't work harder than your client. Okay, so as a therapist, if you're working harder than your client and you care about your client's change more than your client does, you're in trouble. Oftentimes that happens with psychics. As therapists, and I've told you all, you're all narcissists. You all grew up in the victim, rescuer, perpetrator triangle. All of you. You had to parent your child, you had to parent your parent, you were the adult, whatever your story is. So you learned that you thought you learned that you actually could change someone. And hence you're all here studying therapy. I'm here too, because I have that same triangle. The triangle, and the reason that it's in most of the chakras is there's a reason. Change your thought. These chakras, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are directly related to my triad, to the law of octaves, which is the child, which I'll talk about in a minute. Okay? The triangle is the thoughts. So I told you that if I ever got a tattoo, I would get the squared circle or the philosopher's stone. This is all you need to know. This is it. This is the only symbol. And my boyfriend also, in addition to theories, put this symbol on the sweatshirt. I mean, pegged me, right? That's it. My whole universe on one front of a shirt. And then he put Pisces and my numerology one on the back, which is super cute. But that really, like, he pegged me. And he's not a therapist or a psychic, but obviously he heard me speak and figured it out. This is all you need to know. This outer circle, I told you before, this sort of universal mind, the creator God, the original wholeness. The circle is the missed mark, the original sin, where we miss the mark because we're human. The triangle is the thoughts. And in metaphysics, there's a belief that all is mind. Buddha says, change your thoughts, change the world. Okay? The square is the boundary, the adulting you need to do, the steps, the hard work that you have to do to put it in place. And then the inner circle is third chakra related, the self-love, the self-worth. So this is exactly what I'm saying. I'm just explaining it in words. So when you hear your client speak, you can identify from which chakra they're speaking. There is a reason that the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chakra all have to do with the triangle. This does not mean that the first and second chakra people don't have to change their thoughts. That's not what I'm saying. But the bulk is change your thoughts. These people need to grow up. Give them a boundary, give them a budget, and give them some adulting to do. They're going to have a place in the earth to grow up. They're going to follow the steps, so to speak. These person needs their needs met, and and part of the therapeutic relationship is nurturing the client. That's the empathy, the validation, the safe space. Granted, you're going to model that for them. Again, this does not mean that they don't need to change their thoughts, but they're going to be kind of nurtured that way. That's going to be a big part of the healing process to getting them to the 48 to 52, because they're going to learn a healthier version of love, different than the astrology moon or the moon language that they learned in the womb. But the third, fourth, fifth, sixth chakras all have a triangle in them, because you must change your thoughts about the way you're moving in the world. You've got to put everybody, all six chakras on the triangle. I'll get to the seventh in a second that doesn't have a triangle, but especially third, fourth, fifth, sixth chakra people, because their thoughts. So going back to Keisha's question, I have to ask myself, if I get this headache, why did I need to do so much work? I talk loud naturally. I shout in sessions. I shatter snow globes. I'm emphatic. Great, that's my nature. But if I go overboard, third chakra, what is my self-worth linked to in that session that's forcing me to do more than my client? I have to ask myself as a therapist, as a healer, those questions, because I've said it before, all healing work is about yourself. That client is a projection of you. You're doing nothing but healing yourself. And if you heal yourself, perhaps you can help another that then helps another, which is something in positive psychology that we know that if you're happy, you then pass that on, and then those people pass it on to three more, etc., etc. So it's the same concept. It's a vibrational sort of, spreading out of a high vibration, but it comes from healing self. Why is the triangle the base of my models? I told you the new book is The Truth is in the Triangle, and I've actually started the book after that, which is going to be all about triangles, all about this. It's going to be about the symbolic language we use and how to heal it. Okay? So triangle is the strongest force on earth, first of all, so think of the pyramids. You need three, and we come from a triad, mother, father, child. I've told you that before. It's related to the thoughts. In the law of octaves, there is what I call child, manifested by the triangle, mother, father, child, and then adult, manifested by the square. Square is the symbol of earth. That's why it's in the first chakra and only the first chakra. Square is a symbol of adult. Square is a symbol of death. In many cultures, it's stability also, because it's 4 and you won't wobble. In many cultures, Asian cultures, the square, or the number 4 in numerology, is the symbol of death. What dies? No. In us, what dies? The body. The body is the material. The body is what dies. That's why in the Dionysus story, he's burned to a crisp and his body's eaten, and the heart, or the soul, the Egyptians believe that that's where the soul was, and that's why they weighed it on the scales with the feather of Mat to see how holy and how special and how virtuous your heart was what was saved and then put into the thigh of Zeus. The thigh meaning the animal nature, which we have to embrace, and I told you, people down here are not embracing their animal nature. That's part of the healing that you're going to do, or the therapy you're going to do, is bring them into the body, or balanced with the body and the spirit. Okay? So the body dies. So in Asian cultures, the body, or the square, or the earth, the cross, Jesus died on the cross, is all about what dies. It means this must die in you. And then as Jesus, you're resurrected. Okay? So, in order to be an adult, in my model, there's 4 steps. 4 goes to the square. In order to be a child, to at least start the subconscious healing, you need a triangle. The chakra system correlates my theory. If you need 3, 4, 5, and 6, self-love, learning to love yourself and the other balanced, speak appropriately, ask for your needs to be met, change your thoughts as the triangle indicates, and identify your God, you must go to the subconscious. So in the Bible, there's a saying that says that those that have will continue to have or will have more, and the have-nots will continue to have less or have not. And whoever reads this on the surface is saying, what the hell? The haves are going to have more and the have-nots are going to have. The haves are on the 100 and the have-nots are on the 0. And you're going to continue repeating that. And he's not talking about money. Whatever it is that you're in excess of. Excess is not balanced. In the Goldilocks conundrum, the big bed or the big bowl that was too hot of oatmeal was not good. This idea that more and more and more, and I'm all for the law of abundance. Lord knows I've got abundance and excess all over my astrology chart. Trust me, I work on that. Not too good at it, but I try. It's just as bad as scarcity. In astrology, if you're curious, abundance is Jupiter and scarcity is Saturn. So you can see the relationship between those two, okay? So the have-nots are going to continue to be scarce and live in the 0, and the haves are going to continue to be abundant, and that could be of yelling like me or overweight like some people. Abundance is not always good, and that's what that saying means. So these chakras, because they have the triangle, is specifically telling you to change your subconscious pattern. And I told you before, everyone has a third chakra issue. Everybody. Happiness is fleeting, balance is fleeting. Enjoy those moments. Because then you're just going to do it all over again. You're going to knock off the pedestal and start over and over and over again. That's the 7th chakra, which I'll get to. So everyone has to change their thoughts, because we already know. Assume that the client has a third chakra issue. Okay, and then identify their symbolic language and what element. You know that it's either 0 or 100, and you have to take them from 48 to 52. And they have to change their subconscious programming. You have to go to the origin story. You have to go to that story of conception, the pregnancy, the birth, or the 0 to 7. And like I said before, if you don't know any of that, whatever story they tell you is going to link back to the conception. Always. No new stories. That's my hashtag. Okay, I've got 2 hashtags. No new stories and do it differently. And we will get to do it differently this month. Okay? So you cannot change without changing your thoughts and without looking at your origin story of your mother and father, where the power currency, the shadow, the buckets, whatever language you want to use, I've got all the tools for you so that you can figure that out. Now, look what I did here. I made a little crescent moon. Who knows what this is?
Holy crap, I forgot the name.
This is a symbol of what?
So many
Of Om. Okay? This, you see this little veil here, this little crescent moon? And on top, in Hinduism, this veil is called illusion or Maya. This dot is considered transcendence. Okay? What I did here is this also. Does anyone know what that is? It's on the archetype poster. You see it? Pluto. Pluto is the same symbol as Om, as the chakra system. It all means the same thing. Yesterday I had a client and I told her, I said, you know, you have a really strong priestess energy. You really, you know, should look into like perhaps working in this field or learning about metaphysics, alchemy, something. And she's like, well, which one? I said, you have to figure out which language you like. Do you like the chakras? You guys like psychology. That's a language. Pick a theory, that's the language you're going to use. I like Jungian, so I use more Jungian with the shadow, the persona, the objective psyche, things like that. But I am a metaphysician, so I use metaphysics. I'm an astrologer, so I have a lot of languages. Because I learned at a very young age that if I was going to do work with the spirit world, the spirit uses the language that you have. The spirit and the matter go together. So the more language I have, the easier it's going to be to communicate what they're trying to tell me. And that's the purpose of symbol. They show me a symbol like they do in every session, I immediately know what they're telling me. Because I have symbolic language, which is what I'm trying to give you. So even though you're going to have your therapy language, I want you to have symbolic language too, so you can hear, and that's very Jungian, okay? So this symbol is the sign of Pluto. And I have here in its highest sort of consciousness as magician. Magic is what? What is magic? Okay, in part illusion, but magic is one thing transforms to another, right? The handkerchief turns into a bird. Transmutation, transformation.
Yeah.
Pluto is the sign of transformation and transmutation and is the magician. So Pluto rules Scorpio. Scorpio is the most mystical or magical sign. Okay, so everyone's a witch and they're right. Witch is wicked, wicked is Wiccan, Wiccan is wise woman. Don't get caught up in the word, it's all the same thing. But it refers back to the potential of regeneration, rebirth. And what did I start the class with? Jesus was born on the fixed cross. The fixed cross has Scorpio, which is the magician or the rebirth, opposite Taurus, which is the matter. Like Dionysus, the body died, and the spirit, obviously, of Jesus continues. He resurrected. We all have the ability to resurrect. If we understand the symbolism, Pluto in astrology, I'm going to explain the seventh chakra in a minute, the illusion, the Maya, the chakra system, the triangles, the squares, the circles, the symbolism, the earth, the elements. You see, it's all the same. It's all the same. It doesn't matter what words you use. Okay, I'm just fascinated by symbol, and so I love that. And I know people speak that way. So that 2-8 axis, which is Scorpio-Taurus, is the spiritual or the mystical and the earthly, the body. And Jesus died on that cross, the fixed cross, meaning he gave over his body to resurrect as the Christ consciousness. We are all, always going up and down the chakras. In Kabbalah, it's called the tree of life, whatever you want to call it, the fallen angel in Christianity, Satan to God, whatever you want to call it, the light, the dark, the shadow aspects, the anima, the animus in Jungian psychology, every single tradition has a version of this. And this is the human story, the constant cycle of death and rebirth. Okay, so of the chakras, the only one that does not have a symbol, a square for death of the body or adulting or earth, a moon for nurturance for the earthly womb, which is limited and needy and unmet needs, or a triangle of changing thoughts or shifting the energy of the masculine and feminine polarities, or the child and looking at the subconscious, is the seventh chakra. Why? What did I tell you was the symbol of the circle? Circle is wholeness. The seventh chakra, and hence why every Jesus painting, he has a halo, that's the seventh chakra. We as human beings are attempting to reach wholeness. So it takes me back to this veil of illusion and the seventh chakra. The veil is called Maya or illusion. In a lot of text, spiritual text, it is believed that everything in this world is fake, is an illusion. I don't necessarily believe that. Is it temporary? Is it impermanent? Absolutely. And that's another way. That's the way I like to teach it. So I don't think that this is fake, but it is impermanent. It's not permanent. Nothing in the earthly realm is permanent. It all dies, like Sam said earlier. The only thing that survived in Dionysus' story or in the Jesus story is the heart, is the soul, is the spirit. That's the seventh chakra. It's whole. The heart, the spirit, the soul, whatever language you like. And I use heart because I'm using Egyptian mythology equivalent there, not because it's the physical heart, that dies too, obviously. The energy of consciousness of just unity and wholeness. So there's a big move now, big movement about light workers and love and the divine and let's live in unity and wholeness. You cannot if you don't do your own work. Every chakra is related to another chakra. The seventh chakra is linked to the first chakra. If you can't have wholeness in spirit, if you don't have wholeness in your body, if you're not adulting and setting boundaries and being self, you can't give to another. So that language is misleading because people think that they're living in their fourth chakra and their fourth chakra wide open and their fourth chakra of unconditional love. Malarkey! Go down to the third chakra.
So what is shadow work?
I do shadow work. That's all I do. Shadow work is what I call in my book, taking the bad buckets, the parts of our parents. Again, this is my language. The parts of our parents that we discarded and integrating them so that we can accept ourselves whole. That's what I did last month with the wrong alliance, the right alliance, the parent that was thrown out, integrating the masculine or the feminine, or the mother or the father, or the Mars and the Aries, the Mars and the Venus. I'm not going to recap the whole month, but that. The parts of ourselves that we don't like. People want to live in the light. People want to think they're all good. Bullshit! If you're good, you're bad. Get over it. Original sin. We missed the mark. We're constantly missing the mark, but damn, you're trying. That's all that is. Keep freaking trying. Keep going up and down. Keep up and down. That's all it is.
That seems so hopeless.
But it's not hopeless. The thing is, it's programming. It's programming that you're supposed to be Jesus. Who the hell said so? God, we were made in the image of God. We were not made to be equal to God. The gods in mythology hate the humans, hate us. They had Hephaestus made Pandora to bring us freaking evil. Prometheus stole the fire to bring to the humans, and they locked him up, chained him, and made a vulture eat his liver every night. The gods hated the humans. They don't want humans to reach God status. It's sacrilegious in Christianity to say that you're God. That's why they scoff at the New Age. And I'm all for New Age. I do believe we have an inner God. We do have an inner divine. It's called self-love and self-worth and boundaries and me putting myself first but not taking your energy. That's self. People don't like the word God. My inner God, so don't use that word. But no priest isn't, I would hope, would not want you to live in your power. And I told you that there's a great Christian book that I highly recommend for therapists. It's called Boundaries. It's from Christian theology, but it's all about boundaries. And it starts off with a story of this woman who gives and gives and gives to the church. Her marriage is struggling. And I think she goes to the pastor and he's like, whoa, get your house in order. Then you get God's house in order. First chakra, get your earth, your house in order. Then you worry about the fourth. Your third chakra, get your house in order. Then worry about God. So the 1 and the 7, and that's why the seventh chakra has no square and it has no triangle. Because the seventh chakra is transcendence. It's when you transcend the subconscious. It's when you change your thoughts. It's when you're living in harmony. It's when you're not missing the mark. That's why in meditation, you want to try to reach your seventh chakra. Anyone who's ever tried to meditate can meditate for 20 minutes. 19 and a half of those, you're thinking thoughts of bullshit. And you have one glimmer of the divine, and then you're back in your fucking body. Because you can't be up there and sustain that shit. It's told to us. You're the image of God. Try to be virtuous like Jesus. No one said be fucking Jesus. Nobody, if you believe in Christianity. And if you believe like me in mythology that informs us, not one god wants a human in fucking Olympus. Hell no. If they kicked out one of their own kind for being deformed, the closest to human, you think they want one of us? This idea that original sin, that's why I said, what's your original sin? Ask your client. They're going to basically tell you their conception story, their pregnancy story, their birth story, their 0 to 7, the time they screwed up, and you're going to bring it back to why they kicked themselves out of their own life. You kick yourself out of your third chakra. Obviously, your parents and the costumes and the story and what you're told. I threw shit in the neighbor's pool. And then I was told I was going to get kicked out of the cult. The special Monday day of the cult that I was the only child allowed. Of course, I'm trying to get back in freaking Olympus. Why do you think I study this shit? I gotta check my ego. I have to check. I tried to live in the spirit and not the body. Why I got cancer. Like, every story that your client tells is symbolic of that original sin where they feel they missed the mark. You all have a story. And that's why Jesus was a Leo. And that's why it's the symbol of the sun. The circle around it is perfect. It's whole. It's integral. The sun doesn't need you to shine, but you need the sun to live. It's a reciprocity. The lower nature in the third and the higher nature in the fourth. Yourself with a capital S and yourself with a lowercase s. You need both. You're human and you're divine. But you don't fail because you missed the mark. You're supposed to miss the mark. And so all this is another way of saying this. Life is a cycle. Life is a pattern. I like to use the analogy of aging. Every one of you is going to age. You've aged already. From the moment you're born, you're already aging, right? No one can defy that. Now, what can you do? You can put creams, you can exercise, you can eat well, and then you can look really good when you're older. You're still 60, but you look great for your age, right? Same thing with spirituality. Spirituality is taking on some bullshit. Like if it's reserved for privileged people that could do yoga and have crystal balls, get over yourself. Spirituality is life. Spirituality is learning to grow up. It's about adulting. It's about setting a boundary. It's about saying no. It's about reserving your resources because you can't give to someone what you don't have. What bullshit with unconditional love? You don't love yourself and you have to give others. I told a story when I went outside to get solar energy for my third chakra to give to my client because my guides are, you don't have any. How can I heal this person? I had to borrow solar energy because my third chakra was depleted. That's why my model is based on the child and the adult. First chakra, the needs and all that is obviously inherent in the model, so the second chakra is inherent, and the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. It includes it all. If you do this model, you're gonna touch all of those stones so that you can, one cycle of it, reach transcendence for a fleeting moment until you're thrown right back down to the bottom at the first chakra to start all over again. It's a metaphysical law that I absolutely love called the law of octaves. And I built, or my guides built, the model based on the law of octaves. The triangle is so important because it's the potential. Why do you think it's the Father, Son, Holy Ghost? Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu. Positive, negative, neutral. The force of three, which is another law called the law of three, is the potential to do something. Every one of you has potential. I am not a believer that you could do whatever the hell you want. Bullshit. You're not going to be a ballerina. Get over it. You're 5 feet, you're not gonna be freaking an NBA player. Like, know your limitations, people. Like, this bullshit, you could be anything, everything, no. Okay? I mean, let's get real. You missed the mark on being an NBA player or a ballerina. Someone's got to tell you it's going to be me. I mean, let's get serious. I mean, because it's like this bullshit that we're fed. Oh, everything's love and light. We can be anything. No! Grow up. First chakra. Let's all be adults. Okay? That's why I teach college. Let's start there. Perfect. It is perfect. Let's start there. First chakra. Let's start there. Let's grow up, and then I can worry about loving you and abundance and manifesting and all the bullshit. Come on now. Let's get serious. So that's the first thing. That's why I don't teach K through 12. Because you can't curse and you can't tell people this. You gotta watch. But in college, I have academic freedom. I can tell you this stuff, right? So let's start there. I love that. I swear, write that down. That's got to be like your freaking slogan. Let's start there. Let's all fucking adult, and then we'll talk. If not, don't come see Joy Camps because she's not going to be your fucking therapist. I love that. Plus, okay? So this idea of the veil, the illusion, the Maya, is the idea that this world doesn't exist. I think that this has been a little distorted. Okay? A little bastardized. Like, if the material world doesn't exist, then what you're saying is your body doesn't matter, earth language, right? Your money doesn't matter, bullshit. Tell me how you're gonna eat. You might not need a McMansion, but damn, you need a roof over your head. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How are you gonna work on self-actualization, which is the 7th chakra, if you can't pay your fucking bills? Ridiculousness! And I lived in that. I wanted to negate my body, trust me, but I loved my money and I was making a lot of it. Bullshit, I wanted to negate my body. It's distorted, it's bastardized. These teachings are bastardized and someone has to teach them correctly. The 7th chakra is the transcendence. All that means is transcend the thought. Transcend the God that you have made the center of your life for you to suffer. I can't take away your pain. That's down here. You have a body. You have earth in your body. You have the element of the earth in your body. You have a square in that chakra. You're gonna die. You're limited. All the meanings of the first chakra. Grow up, then we'll talk. I can't take that from you. But I can help you not make love to your suffering. I have Saturn in my 7th. I have been divorced twice. That is my cross to bear in this lifetime. Figuring out how the hell to have a healthy, balanced relationship. Every one of you has Saturn somewhere. That's going to be your cycle over and over again, your alchemy. The door that you go through, that you learn to be humble and balance your energies. So I wrote a book about it. And I have a theory, and hopefully I'm putting it into place. So I missed the mark, but damn, I'm trying. So if we age, because we age, don't we age spiritually? Of course we do. Now, some people use crystals and yoga and tarot and meditation and mindfulness, and do it. Hell yeah, do it. If that's going to make your spiritual journey better and you're going to live in a higher level of consciousness, do it. But does that mean if you're working 3 jobs and you can only afford rice and beans, or you're living in some African country that's poor, that you aren't spiritual? Oh, get over yourself. What ego is that? Everyone grows spiritually because we all live a cyclical life. We cycle over and over and over, and that's the beauty of astrology.
Saturn in the 5th or the 4th?
No, I have 7th. You have Saturn in the 4th?
5th.
Okay, I'll tell you about that later. So we all live a cyclical life. That's why the astrology wheel is a circle. And everything's contained in the circle. All the information is in the circle. Your psychological organs, your suffering, your pain, your limitation, your adulting, all of it's in there. You have to live that out over and over and over. Why do we call it the solar return when it's your birthday? Because you've done one revolution around the sun. Your planets have all been ding, 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 touched. And now you're going to do it again and do it again and do it again. Well, your soul has the same path and the same journey. It's cyclical. It's not linear. The chakras look like they're linear because they're up and down, but it's cyclical. That's why they're in the back and the front, and the energy is actually cyclical. Okay? So if you're not consciously adulting or you're not consciously spiritual, your life knocks you up and down and off the wagon, on the wagon, whatever the language is, for you to figure it out. And eventually you're like, damn, I've done that 20 times. That doesn't work. Maybe I should do it this way. That's spirituality. Now, are you going to get to the end of the road beat up with gray hair, stressed, anxious, on a ton of meds? Probably. Lucky you that gets to go to school. Lucky you that gets to do yoga. Lucky you that gets to listen to a podcast and make it a little easier on you. But that doesn't mean that a poor person or someone who has 3 jobs or doesn't care about these themes or isn't exposed to them doesn't have the same spirituality as you. Now, don't go the other extreme and idealize that, which is what some people do. And I mentioned before with the adulting, with the earth element, they idealize scarcity or impoverishedness. So they live a impoverished or a shrinking life because they don't want to be in their full life. That's not good either. That's the 0 to 100. So you're gonna miss that mark, but damn, try to get as close as possible. And so your life is cyclical, like the chakras, like the astrology wheel, like the steps in alchemy. Every single metaphysical tradition, every spiritual path speaks of that. In the Bible, there's a whole song, and they made a song of it. The seasons turn. There's a time for grief, there's a time for pain, there's a time for loving, there's a time for loss. You can have it all, but I say not all at once. Because things are in cycles. So right now, Jupiter is in Aquarius. I have Jupiter in Aquarius in my chart. That means it went full round the chart, 12 years. So I have to look at everything I accomplished in the 12 years, and now I get to accomplish it all over again, but in a higher vibration, and the world is naturally going to lead me there. And because it's a planet of abundance, I'm going to see abundance in my life. Saturn is the planet of limitation. So when Saturn shows up in your life every 7 years, you're going to have a limitation and cycle of limitation for 2 years. And that's going to be your opportunity to grow and have pain. So all of this is cyclical to get you to 2 seconds of transcendence, pick a new God, and then come back down and start all over again. Okay, hold on. Okay. I think I covered everything on the chart. Michelle, I'll catch you up on what you missed from the first half, and I apologize for having that on mute. It was such a shame. Any questions? Do you understand how you listen for the earth, the air, the fire, and the water? You link that to an issue. You put it on the triangle. If they're living it out 0 or 100, and your therapy is going to guide them to more of a balanced state. I would like for you to identify your original sin, your story. It should come out of your mouth pretty easily. That's where you feel you missed the mark. And look at your life, no matter how long you are, how old you are, and see how that original sin, that missed mark, has cycled in your life over and over and over again. They're related. What thoughts you need to change by doing the triangle, by doing the triad, I was saying that the child issues are in these 3 to 6 because it's the thoughts and the subconscious thoughts. So you're going to continue to have or have not until you shift those thoughts. Once you shift them and you get your clarity, your balance, this is where you're going to have your 48 to 52 for about 2 seconds. You're going to stay happy and balanced. You're going to come right back down again. You're going to find another limitation. related to that same thread, that same original sin. It doesn't change in a lifetime. That's the Saturn. And you're going to go back again and do it over and over and over again. Okay? So whether it's my model, which is shadow work, whether it's alchemy, whether it's astrology, whether it's, what's it called? Chakra system, it's all the same. No new stories. This has all been told. Any questions? Make sense? Okay. Let me take attendance.